Hello everyone, welcome to today's story. In love, a single moment of misunderstanding can be enough to wound the heart. In the previous episode, James happened to witness Diep tenderly caring for Tung. That image pierced him like a blade, leaving him drowning in jealousy and despair. Can the bond they've built over time withstand the storm of doubt? Join me as we continue the turbulent journey of James and Diep's love in today's episode. And if you too wish to follow this fragile yet fierce love, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your feelings in the comments below. Night fell, and the village road sank into silence. James walked alone in the dark, his usually steady figure weighed down with heaviness. Pale moonlight spilled across his shoulders, yet it could not dispel the storm clouds gathering within him. His hand clenched unconsciously, veins rising beneath his skin. Each step echoed into emptiness, laden with jealousy and despair. His eyes had darkened. Gone was their usual gentleness, replaced only by the anguish gnawing at his heart. In his mind, memories surged. The days he quietly protected Diep, every smile, every tear of hers he had cherished. And yet, in a single moment, the image of Diep sitting close beside Tung, tending to him with tender care, had become a cold blade driven straight into his chest. Could it be that in her heart there was already someone else? The question struck again and again, a merciless refrain tightening his chest with pain. The night wind whispered through the bamboo groves, the rustling leaves like bitter murmurs. And in that space, James's footsteps carried him farther away, opening up an invisible distance. The first true distance between two hearts once thought inseparable. In the rustic wooden house, a dim oil lamp cast its pale glow across Diep's face. Her shadow trembled on the wooden wall, flickering with each wavering flame, like the unrest stirring in her heart. On the table, her phone buzzed, its screen flashing in the darkness. With trembling fingers, Diep dialed James's number, but time after time, the only answer was the hollow ring on the other end, endless, unanswered. That sound seeped into her ears, cold as wind whistling through the cracks in the planks, deepening the emptiness inside her. She bowed her head, hands clasped tight. In her mind, Tung's voice still echoed, laced with insinuation. A man like James, do you really think he's true to you? He's only playing with you. Each word felt like a poisoned needle, pricking deeper into her heart, refusing to let her rest. To believe in love, or to let suspicion take hold. In this moment, Diep stood at a crossroads. Tears welled in her eyes, but she bit her lip hard, forcing them back. Outside, the wind rustled through the bamboo. Insects hummed their endless refrain, together forming a mournful melody in the night, blending with the loneliness twisting in the young woman's heart. The next morning, the rumble of excavators echoed across the construction site, dust rising in the early sun. James stood there, his pale blue shirt fluttering in the breeze, yet his face clouded with gloom. He listened to his colleague's report, nodding out of habit, but his gaze slipped unconsciously into the distance. In his heart, the image of Diep sitting beside Tung the night before replayed again and again, like a reel of film that refused to stop. His hand clenched faintly at the seam of his pocket, his lips pressed tight. Outwardly, he held his calm demeanor, but within lay a quiet ache, a crack widening deep in his heart. Elsewhere, Diep had risen early. Stepping into the yard, her hands moved quickly to feed the chickens and ducks, gathering eggs from their nests. The chores were familiar, yet today they weighed heavy. Each movement slowed, as though her heart was still lost somewhere with those unanswered calls to James. Sitting before a modest breakfast, Diep lifted her chopsticks, but could not swallow. In her vacant gaze, her chest twisted. Worry for James, regret over the hazy distance forming between them. Two people, in two different places, yet both sinking into the same sorrow over their love. Within both hearts played the same unspoken refrain, a melody of doubt, of worry, and of longing that had yet to find its voice. Morning came, the mountain road still damp from the night's rain, streaked with patches of mud. James rode with Trang, the new assistant, by his side. With his mother away on business, he had been tasked with guiding her through the workshops for inspection. Trang sat neatly, clutching her files, eyes bright with focus. Each time James spoke of figures, processes, or plans, she carefully jotted notes, occasionally slipping in a quiet question. To an outsider, it looked like nothing more than a busy workday between a serious boss and a diligent aide. But in truth, for James, every word he spoke was only a pretense. He forced his voice to sound firm, his steps brisk as he moved through the vast lumber workshop filled with sawdust. The shrill scream of saws, the heavy thud of wood, the sharp clang of hammers. All of it he clung to like a shield, hoping the noise might drown out the piercing whispers in his heart. Behind his glasses, his eyes darkened. No one could see that, beneath his calm exterior, lay a heart slowly breaking apart. In the fruit-laden garden, Diep bent by the jackfruit tree, her slender hand gently patting each ripe fruit. On her back, the worn bamboo basket grew heavier with every piece she picked. The midday sun blazed down, sweat beading on her forehead and tracing lines along her temples. She paused, wiped it quickly with her sleeve, then carried on. Every movement was slow and careful, yet in her eyes glimmered a quiet resolve. After today's market, she would go to find James. The winding dirt road led toward the afternoon market. Her laden basket pulled at her shoulders, each step unsteady on the slope. The rustling leaves above, the hum of insects below, all seemed like companions to both her weariness and her hidden hope. At the market, Diep tucked herself beneath the shade of a tree, carefully arranging golden jackfruit bulbs into a bamboo tray. Her hands moved quickly, while her eyes followed the stream of passers-by. She smiled at customers, but in her gaze shimmered a quiet anticipation. Then each time her phone buzzed, she startled, opening it quickly, only to close it again in disappointment. No messages, no calls from James. The sun stretched long shadows across the road leading to James's house. Clutching the bag of jackfruit to her chest, Diep hurried forward, her heart pounding with both excitement and unease. But when she arrived, only an empty yard greeted her, the wooden door shut tight. She sank down on the steps, silently holding the bag of fruit in her arms. Time dragged on, the cicadas droning echoing through the mountains, making her waiting all the more aching. Diep reached for her phone, dialed James's number, only to hear the endless, hollow ring. Each tone struck like a cold blade, carving deeper into a heart that longed desperately for an answer. Diep waited and waited, but no one came home. With a heavy heart, she finally rose and stepped onto the dusty village road. Just then, the roar of a motorbike broke the silence. Tung appeared, his demeanor calm, his eyes glinting with quiet concern. "Let me take you home. It's on my way," he offered, his tone both firm and gentle. Diep hesitated, reluctant to accept, but at last gave a small nod. Sitting behind him, clutching the bag of jackfruit tightly, she turned her gaze back toward the still-closed house, as if hoping for a miracle. The motorbike sped down the narrow road. At that very moment, in a roadside cafe, James was seated with Trang, going over work. His eyes wandered to the street and froze. Before him was Diep, riding behind Tung, her posture timid yet familiar, her hair fluttering lightly in the wind. The sight cut into James like a blade. His fist tightened, his eyes darkened. The world around him seemed to fade, leaving only that image. The woman he loved beside Anat, her man. Trang kept speaking, pointing at numbers on the file, but James no longer heard a word. Quietly, he stood and stepped outside, as though fleeing the scene that was tearing his heart apart. And at that very moment, Diep caught sight of a familiar figure, James. Her heart skipped a beat. "Tung, stop the bike!" Her voice trembled, urgent. The motorbike screeched to a halt. Diep quickly climbed down, rushing across the road, her heart pounding, her eyes fixed only on the cafe. But when she arrived, James was gone. Only Trang remained, sitting calmly, her eyes glinting with something unreadable. Diep froze, her mind in turmoil. Her hands tightened around the bag of jackfruit, as though clinging to the last fragments of courage. After a moment's hesitation, her voice came soft, unsteady. "Sister Trang, please give this bag of jackfruit to James for me. I prepared it this morning. I wanted to bring it to him." Trang looked momentarily surprised, but quickly masked it with a forced smile as she reached out her hand. "All right, leave it with me." Diep lingered a few seconds longer, her eyes darting around, hoping James might step out from behind the door. But the space was empty, only the wind slipping through the cracks, lifting strands of hair across her face. She turned to leave. Her steps were heavy, dragging, as if unwilling to let go of her fragile hope. With every pace, she glanced back at the cafe once more. Her sorrowful eyes brimmed with longing, her frail face etched with quiet disappointment. James returned to the table, his eyes still clouded with confusion. He could have sworn he saw Diep step into the cafe. Striding quickly toward Trang, his voice came out hoarse, strained by restraint. Just now, was Diep here? Trang flinched for the briefest moment, then swiftly tucked away the bag Diep had left. Her eyes flickered as she answered, "No. I've been sitting here the whole time. I didn't see anyone." Her words were crisp, unwavering, like a blade twisting disappearing deeper into James's heart. He froze, a sharp ache seizing his chest. Had it all been a trick of his mind? Was it nothing but an illusion born from longing, his heart conjuring what his eyes so desperately wanted to see? In the late afternoon yard, sunlight filtered through the leaves, scattering pale patches of light across the bamboo wall. Tung stopped his bike at the veranda. Diep stepped down, her face carrying the weariness of a long day filled with waiting and disappointment. She poured water. The rims of the glasses touched with a faint ting, a sound so small, so fragile. Handing him the cup, she kept her eyes averted, her lashes lowered in exhaustion. Tung leaned on the table, bending toward her, his voice slow and deliberate, laden with intent. "You see it, don't you? James has changed lately, distant, cold. If a man truly loved you, would he leave you this lonely?" Diep lowered her head, her fingers intertwined, knuckles whitening from the pressure. Her voice shrank, as though confessing the weight of her heart. It's true. These past few days, James has been cold with me. I don't understand why. At her words, Tung's lips curved faintly, an ambiguous, shadowed smile. In his eyes flickered the concealed satisfaction hiding behind his facade of concern. He pressed on, his tone sweet as honey, yet each word hiding a blade. Perhaps you've placed your trust in the wrong man, Diep. Someone like James, with wealth and status in his hands. Would he ever truly value a simple village girl? I'm telling you honestly, I fear the longer you follow him, the deeper your pain will be. The evening breeze rustled the leaves outside. Diep sat in silence, her face gaunt beneath the fading light. In her eyes welled sorrow, confusion and ache entwined. Across from her, Tung took a sip of water, his eyes narrowing, that shadowed smile flickering once more, like a man who had just planted another seed of doubt in her heart.
Tình yêu vốn dĩ mong manh, nay lại bị phủ thêm bởi những đám mây đen của sự hiểu lầm, của sự dối trá và những lời rêu động từ nơi ngoài. Liệu Siêu và Diệp có đủ niềm tin để giữ chặt lấy nhau giữa những cơn bão nghi ngờ này, hay chỉ một khe nứt nhỏ thôi, tất cả sẽ sụp đổ? Nếu bạn cũng thấy trái tim mình nhói lên cùng câu chuyện, hãy để lại chia sẻ trong phần bình luận và đừng quên nhấn like, đăng ký kênh để cùng tôi theo dõi tập tiếp theo của cuộc hành trình về